to Democratic automatic candidate Karen Lewis Young. Karen, how you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Good.
Start out the first question as you can tell us a little bit about yourself, professionally, personally, for someone that may be tuning in, and all these interviews are on the WFMD website and YouTube, so people can get a feel and see a picture with a voice of who you are. So who is Karen Lewis Young?
Okay. Let me tell you about three paths that define who I am and really help to bring me to where I am today. One is my educational path. I come from a family with a strong embedded belief in the value of education. And I went to Columbia University for a master's degree in American history, where I learned a lot about the ideals and principles of our founding fathers, stayed on for an MBA where I got rigorous training in finance, accounting, and a variety of business subjects. By doing that, I had a wonderful opportunity to work for some of America's best-run corporations. Spent the next 11 years in Manhattan working for American Express and Citibank. At American Express, I managed a budget in excess of $100 million and served as the chief of staff for the head of card marketing. For Citibank, I managed a branch and then later a group of branches, and that was really my first experience managing to the bottom line, having profit center responsibility. And boy, when you manage to the bottom line, you learn to read between the lines. The next part of my career, the next half of my career, I worked for a variety of large regional and community banks where I headed up functions in marketing, training, strategic planning, human resources, community reinvestment, and that's what brought me to Frederick. In 1996, I was recruited as the Chief Marketing Officer of Farmers and Mechanics Bank. Loved this community so much, I decided to stay. And I got very involved in the community. Over the years, I volunteered for over 15 organizations in the community. Many of them I've served on the board. Others I've done a research function for them by doing needs assessment studies. And that's really helped me to understand the community and the needs of the citizens. So that's a little bit about who I am, where I've been, and what brought me to my big decision today to run for alderman.
Now, I know the community involvement was a big part, but also what happened on the presidential level was a big part of why you ran also. What kind of was the driving force behind that?
You know, I was really inspired by the way so many new voters decided to vote. First-time voters, whether they were young or whether they were older, all of a sudden they had hope, they believed their vote counted, and actually it was the citizens that inspired me and made me feel that the election process was really something that had a lot of validity and hope for a better future.
All right, so why do you want to be an alderman?
Well, I want to be an alderman, number one, to serve citizens, to take the skills I've built up over 33 years and serve the citizens. Managing the city of Frederick has become a very complex endeavor. One needs to be a legislator, a budgetary monitor, and also a human resource specialist in selecting candidates for various commissions. And I believe that my broad-based business and community experience gives me the skills to make a contribution in all three of those areas.
Was there any particular issue or reason that put you over the top to decide to run for alderman?
Well, I think the things that really caught my attention were some of the financial decisions that were made, and I just instinctively said, you know, I would have asked these questions and I would have viewed some of these answers very differently. And that's what really resonated with me, that my lifelong training had provided me some skills and insights to have a lot of input and worthwhile contributions on the issues that challenge us today.
Do you want to cite some examples?
Well, certainly I don't want to rehash the buyout decision. We've all done that ad nauseum, and one could say hindsight is wonderful. But I will share that I instantly had a reaction on about 5 levels of things that I would have questioned or argued for a different solution. And I think that everybody that was a part of that decision would agree today on a majority of those points.
Well, I think we all agreed buyout would have been done different. Are there anything else that caught your eye that you would have applied those skill set to ask questions if elected?
Well, I think just the process of staffing various commissions and updating our codes, it just seems inordinately long and cumbersome to me. We need to have people with the right skills, the right expertise, and the right temperament serving on city commissions. And I think my human resource experience could help a lot there. In terms of some of the code reform we're looking at, I've seen some efforts that have been sitting on the table for 18 months, and to me that's a really long timeline. I'd like to see more efficiency, not only at City Hall, but in the processes that it manages. And I do feel that having managed to the bottom line, I've had a lot of experience with efficiency planning.
What codes would you update or reform that you talked about?
Well, certainly the Land Management Code, and that is one that's in process. It's been a long, cumbersome and trail. I understand that there are 21 people on that commission, and wow, it is hard to make a decision when you've got 21 people in a room coming from very different perspectives. I understand that there has been a recommendation for HPC reform on the table for 18 months, and it would seem to me that a lot of the recent hysteria, if you will, that we've seen might have been circumvented had we gone a little further and faster with the reform recommendations that were on the table, and certainly with the city's property codes. We have a livability code that is very outdated. We have other codes that are cumbersome, 500 pages long, and they need to be simplified. And we need to be able to put some teeth into enforcing them.
Well, I guess, with codes, with land management or HBC, is there anything specifically that you would eliminate or reform, and what would those reforms be?
Well, I think I'm in agreement, as is everybody else, that HPC needs some reform. Certainly, I'm a strong supporter of having a historic preservation commission. It has our historical heritage has so much to do with the quality of life and the attractiveness of our community. But like everything else, over time, it may need some reform.
Sure. What would they be?
How we select people for the commission. We need a more concrete process for that. And with HPC, I think we need to insert standards of reasonableness and uniformity. And when I say uniformity, I mean we need consistencies in decision making, and we do need a certain element of reasonableness in decisions that have economic ramifications.
All right, talk with Karen Lewis Young, running for alderman on the Democrat side. We'll take a quick break. We'll talk to her until 3:30.